Hello, Pokemon fans. It's been a while. This is a 6v6. This is against Caitlin. This match is actually the first match against the gym leaders in Elite Four in 2018 in Pax South. They had a little tournament there. So luckily I had my 3DS on me and my game, and I decided to compete. That was pretty cool. They actually had badges and everything they were handing out. So this one is a fairy type trainer. So with my team, I think I would do okay, but you know how it goes sometimes. So let's get to it. So there were certain rules in the tournament. I think I wasn't allowed, or I wasn't supposed to use Mega Gengar, and you weren't supposed to have more than 2 leftovers, if I remember correctly, or more than one of the same item, essentially. So that was on me. I think I took care of it after like the 3rd gym trainer told me I wasn't allowed to do that. This gym trainer was probably really nice. So anyways, I start off with a flamethrower, knowing that Ninetails was going to use Aurora Veil to set up the screens. I wanted to do some damage. So, honestly, looking back at it, I probably should have used Toxic. Probably would have been better, I guess. But it is what it is. So, here the Ninetails uses Confuse Ray. He's probably thinking that I might have been a physical variant of Arcanine, but this one's especially defensive, actually. It's a max HP, max special defense Arcanine. Essentially, what I do with it, it just has Toxic, Will-O-Wisp, and it has Intimidate. So I can bring it in with any physical walls, honestly, and then I just use Will-O-Wisp just to cut their attack. And then Toxic is for everything else, and I have Flamethrower for just a random attack in case if I get taunted, and Morning Sun. So here I don't like the matchup when they bring in Primarina, so I decided to bring in Gastrodon. And this Gastrodon, I want to say it was a specially defensive one also. So I take it okay, but it's doing a lot of damage. I'm assuming it's a modest Primarina. So here it uses Moonblast, and luckily I live with enough health to recover and get a fat chunk of health back. So I'm sitting pretty decent, and luckily the hail stopped as well, so I'm actually able to heal. So I'm thinking I'll be okay, but my opponent uses the Oceanic Operetta, and I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. I know Gastrodon's pretty wally, pretty bulky to say the least, but this is a scary Goku Spirit Bomb sing-along with Primarina. I was gonna drop the fury of 1,000 songs right on me. So luckily I live with 29 health, and I decided to Toxic it, to poison it, but I miss, and that's the story of Gastrodon. And here I decided to just leave it in and take that fat Moonblast to the face, because I don't want to send anything out to it, and I don't see any reason for Gastrodon staying in any longer than I have to. So here I bring my Alolan Muk. Here, this Muk is like the it's honestly the Smogon set, the Assault Vest, Adamant with poison touch. You know how we do. Poison Jab, Shadow Sneak. Can't remember the other moves. You'll see them. But you can go on Smogon, it's right there, man. So if y'all gotta check. So I keep getting sparkling areas to the face, but luckily the poison's enough. I thought the Shadow Sneak was going to kill, that's why I used it, but it is what it is. And here the opponent brings in a Grand Bull, and I don't like the matchup because I already have a -1 attack with it since it's got Intimidate. I didn't like it. So I'm bringing in my Arcanine, which has Intimidate and it's pretty bulky, to say the least. And I take that Earthquake pretty well. So I was pretty happy with it. So here I'm just going to use Will-O-Wisp so I can cut its attack completely and heal the following turn. And luckily I don't miss. So I land the Will-O-Wisp, cut the Grand Bull's attack, and I take another Earthquake. I'm hoping I don't get a critical hit on me. Luckily I don't. So as you can see, the results are pretty good. With the -1 attack and the Grand Bull being burned, I don't take a lot of damage, luckily. So here, I was assuming he would, my opponent would switch out, but you know, it is what it is. My opponent wanted to stay in a little bit longer, and I see why. So my opponent decides to paralyze my my Arcanine, knowing that it's more of an annoyance Pokemon, honestly. It's there to disrupt the gameplay and slow the game down if I need to, and set the tempo. So my opponent decides to leave, and here I believe I wanted to Flamethrower, I believe, but my opponent brings in his Garbodor. Oh, correction. Now I move out and I bring in my Miltank. And here I was figuring it was going to be a Mega Garbodor. I don't know why my opponent didn't Mega Evolve here, but it is what it is. Considering, you know, Miltank's more of a physical wall. I don't know why my opponent just didn't use like a Moonblast or Shadow Ball or anything especially defensive. But so here my opponent decides to Mega Evolve, and with the Paralyze, luckily I go first, so it slows my opponent down and I'm able to use Seismic Toss. I'm hoping to paralyze my opponent, but my opponent's able to get through the Paralyze and it KOs my cow. So it is what it is. So here Rainbow Puke, aka my Muk, is just going to clean up. I was hoping it'd be a little faster, but it is what it is. I'm able to take that pretty decent considering it's a Mega Gardevoir. And I KO it with Poison Jab. So, catching up a little bit. So, I don't like the matchup, but it is what it is. So my opponent has, we're back at 4-4, and I didn't see any reason to swap out Pokemon, so I decided to just use Shadow Sneak to do some damage on my opponent. So my opponent takes me out with the Play Rough, and here I bring in my Arcanine, and I cut his attack. So here my opponent pulls out and brings in his Mimikyu, but unfortunately I am paralyzed. I wanted the Will-O-Wisp to cut his attack, but it is what it is. And here I believe I wanted to use Flamethrower, but I get paralyzed again. So the hacks are going against me. So here I decide to swap out because I can bring in, I figured he was going to use Shadow Claw. So I figured my Scrafty could take it and tank it well enough. And unfortunately it's going to be death fodder. So I can bring back my Arcanine, cut its attack by one more level, so it's only going to be a +1 attack after the Intimidate. And I believe here I am going to Flamethrower, and my opponent's going to Swords Dance. So now he's sitting at +3, and I just wanted to kill the Disguise. So luckily the disguise is broken, and I'm hoping I can take any of its attack and I don't get paralyzed. I hope not. So I take that well and I don't get paralyzed, thank goodness. So here I cut its attack. Now the Mimikyu being burned, but it's still +3 attack, so it's still going to do some okay damage. So here I decide to Morning Sun, and my opponent's going to use Shadow Claw, and it's not enough to kill me, thank goodness. So I live with 12 HP. Woo. So I'm going to try to make it as trolly as I can, and I figured my opponent was going to start... So he's going to use another Swords Dance for sure, because he doesn't like the damage, and he knows that I'm going to just troll him. So I knew he was going to Swords Dance, so here I just decided to start spamming Flamethrower, but unfortunately I get paralyzed, so my opponent is getting extremely lucky with the RNG gods. So I'm going to take a Shadow Claw to the face, and I don't know if I'm, you know, luckily I had enough health to live, but, and I'm able to hit it with the Flamethrower, but if I would have landed that first one, it would have been KO'd already. But unfortunately, my Arcanine's not healthy enough to live another Shadow Claw, and it has to die. So luckily the Mimikyu is sitting at low health. I got my last Pokemon, but I know I can outspeed it. So here I bring in my Mega Gengar. But it's 1-4 right now, so it's only me against 4 other of my opponent's Pokemon. So I use Shadow Ball to knock out the Mimikyu. That's a dead Mimikyu. Goodbye. So it brings in that Ninetails, and then I got worried. I was like, oh man, if this is a timid nature, I might get outsped. So here my opponent uses Freeze Dry, and I got lucky. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. I'm surprised he didn't use Aurora Veil, because that would have been very, very bad for me. But luckily my opponent got scared, because I'm a modest nature Mega Gengar actually. So I use the Sludge Bomb to knock out the Ninetails. My opponent brings in the Grand Bull and intimidates me, but luckily I don't need it. I don't need that attack. No thank you. I'm just gonna give you some Sludge Bombs so you can die, so that Grand Bull's gone. So now it's a 1-to-1 fight. Thank goodness. Let's get going. Let's go, baby. Let's go. So the Caitlyn brings in the Mawile, and I use Shadow Ball, and it lives with like a sliver of HP, and it has the berry, and it has the Guava berry. So here my opponent's wanting to flinch me, I'm assuming, but it wasn't enough, because actually I'm a max HP, max defense Gengar, so it was enough to live, which was kind of funny. So I was able to kill it with the second Shadow Ball. So it was a good match. It came down to the wire. So I got the Fairy Badge from, you know, that tournament that I was telling you guys about in Pax South that I was in. So yeah, that's just one of the battles that you're gonna see from the Pax South Pokemon tournament that they had. I want to say they have a website. I might have it in the description below. So just watch it out. If it's not there in the description, then I couldn't find it. And but yeah, but that's the first video. More to come. So hope you guys watch the next one. Later.